Well, here we are with Connor now. How
Hi.
lucky are we that we get this double with Brittany and now with Connor? Wow, we're just so blessed. So blessed.
I'm just saying goodbye to Brittany.
No, go for it.
I think the keys are in Puffy.
Cool, I got it.
All right, awesome. Hi, everybody.
Cool. Everyone's
Hi,
here. All right, I'm gonna make you live. I'm gonna go off, and I'll see you in about an hour or so.
It sounds really good. Hi, Sky. Thanks for saying hi. Hello. Oh, wow. It is a little warm in here. For those of you that were watching Brittany, I asked her a question. I was in Puffy, our truck outside, and watching her like online doing her thing from inside Winnie, which is the RV where we live in. And it's like a teeny bit warm in here. It's a little steamy. Outside is definitely a little cooler. So anyway, yeah, I hope you guys are all doing awesome. Hi, Brianna. Hi, everyone who is there. And Spencer, what's up? So I just checked in with Britt. Hello, Heather. And just asked her, you know, what she kind of did for her topic. And she was telling me that she just kind of went through her story for about 20 minutes or so and then opened it up for questions. I would really love to talk specifically about self-love and about how to get yours. And I also, I want to kind of arrange this particular time with you all kind of in the same way that Brittany did, but with the idea that we will be talking more specifically about self-love in the future videos to come. So any kind of questions that you might have formulating about self-love or about how to get more self-love in your life, please like post them anytime and I will like absorb them or take a picture of them or whatever, and we will set that up for next week. We will talk more specifically about self-love. Hello, Kelly. Welcome everyone. So yeah, if that sounds cool with you all, I think that's what I'll do. I'll just start kind of chatting about, you know, how I got here, how I got to where I am doing, you know, the Vegan World Summit, like how I got here to this day, today, right now, in this moment, because it has been kind of a trip, and it's always fun to kind of retell our stories to see how they've changed, you know, and the things that we are now focused on, the things that now feel important. As time goes on, you know, our reflections about ourselves change. And I think that that's a really interesting thing to look at, to compare our stories to our stories as time goes on, to see the areas that are more important to us now, or areas that we've changed, or areas that we fully integrated, so we don't necessarily spend much time thinking or talking about them. Brittany ran out of water, and I got prepared. I bought myself like a fancy sparkling water, because I deserve it. You know, just like you, I'm gonna open up this sparkling water as we chat. Okay, so, oh, Diane, you got the 30 days program a couple days ago. Awesome. Yeah, so my 30 days program is all about that kind of self-love stuff that I'd really love to talk about next week. So Diane, this is a great place to post any questions that you might have now that you've kind of started the program, and I'll sort of keep a running tally and tab of that stuff, and we can talk about all the self-love goodness next week. We'll also talk a little bit about it just because it's a big part of my life and it's something that's really important to me, so I'm sure it'll come up here as well. So let's see. For those of you who were here listening to Brittany's story, interestingly enough, we both kind of had some big life changes around the same time, even though we didn't know each other at that time. So it was about 4.5 years ago, maybe 5 years ago, going on 5 years ago, that for me, the big life change was I was in a relationship for about 12 years, a monogamous, very long-term relationship that I had started when I was 16 years old. And it was amazing when it started, you know, it was like just pure heaven. It was really healthy for a young relationship. And what I mean by that is just, I hadn't had a lot of experience in relationships. And so to start out that way, with a lot of love and a lot of compassion for this other human being and a lot of support, it was awesome. It felt really good. Heather, you were just asking really quickly about where the 30 days program is. You can find that on 2 different websites that I have. One is under my name, Conor McMillen, and the other one is under Thriving Minimalist. Both are .coms. You can get on there and check out the program. So yeah, I fell in love with this amazing human, and at the time it was just absolutely perfect. It was the support that I had been looking for. It was the validation as an individual that I was looking for. It was like the community, the family feeling that I was looking for. And I quickly just wanted to spend all of my time with this other human being. And so that's what we did. And I moved from California to Massachusetts when I was 17. You know, I kind of like dropped out of school, finished high school from like the computer, started working on my own. I like didn't have a car. It was just like, it was kind of crazy. It was like, this is not a typical path that I jumped onto when I was 17. And it was all because of love. It was all out of love and like the sheer excitement and joy of connecting with someone else who was seeing me and who was loving me and who was nurturing me in a way that I had never felt before. And it was incredibly satisfying for quite a while. And then things kind of tapered off, and I think both of our needs began to shift and change. And maybe the things that were once really important to me were not anymore. And although the love that we shared together was still really magnificent, powerful, and beautiful, and all of those things, I was losing a connection with myself. And I don't think that at the time I really recognized it. But I had a lot of healing and growth to do on an individual level. And I think that this relationship, at least initially, really helped foster and create an understanding of what a loving relationship can look like, what love can look like, what support can look like, what good communication can look like. But it didn't necessarily foster what individuality could look like within the context of a relationship. And that wasn't her fault, and that wasn't my fault. It was just the nature of the dynamic. And I think because we were relatively inexperienced with relationships, and we didn't necessarily have the modeling to show us maybe what a truly healthy and well-rounded and kind of full relationship could look like, this is just how we developed. We both kind of slipped into an interdependent kind of, at times one of us was overly submissive or overly dominant, kind of emotionally controlling in different ways. And it wasn't evil or anything like that. It was, by comparison to a lot of relationships that I've seen out there, it was pretty good. But it wasn't good enough to sustain us as individuals primarily. And when we started breaking down on an individual basis, I think our relationship started to break down. And so how do we cope with these things when we don't even recognize what's going on to us? And for me, that was turning to alcohol and to drugs, and kind of taking my mind away from maybe the pain that parts of me were feeling by numbing out. And I had experience with numbing out throughout my early teens with marijuana, with weed. And that was what I went to kind of take care of myself, to find relaxation and release from some of the anxiety and the pain and the disconnect that I was feeling in my life at that time. And then I met Nicole, my previous partner, and I felt relief. I felt connection. I felt love. And then over time, as I said, something was missing, and it started to feel painful, but I didn't have the experience to recognize it. And so I naturally kind of turned to coping mechanisms that I knew worked. It doesn't mean that they were necessarily healthy, but they did work. They did do what they were supposed to do. And in this case, it was distraction and a way to help calm me down and a way to help relax and stay in the moment. And so, yeah, I just started drinking. And once I started drinking a lot, I wouldn't say it became the focal point in my life, but it was definitely a big, big part of my life. And I drank every single day, with maybe there was one stint where I went a month or 2 months without drinking. That was like a really big deal. And then there was maybe I don't know, like a couple weekends where I kind of tried to quit drinking. But for about 12 years, I drank every single day. And most of the time that meant really strong beer. Like most beer, like Budweiser, for instance, is like 3.5, it's like 4% alcohol, something like that. And I was really into drinking like more like 9% beer. And of those 9% beers, I would probably have like anywhere between 6 to 12 a night. And on a weekend, I would have, I have drank like well over 30 beers in a day, plus like a fifth of hard alcohol. So, I mean, I wasn't like drinking from like waking up until going to bed, but I was drinking, like I was really drinking. Not only was I drinking every single day, but I was also binging out on really pretty hardcore narcotics. Whether it was like, I mean, I did some cocaine, I did some MDMA, I did some kind of uppers like that, but mostly I did opiate-based narcotics that were prescription kind of based stuff. And at the time, that was OxyContin. A number of years ago, OxyContin was very, very easy to get. I mean, for the most part, in terms of as far as prescriptions go, excuse me, it was a pretty easy drug to get. And in the Northeast where I was living, there was like a pretty serious OxyContin kind of epidemic. So I would kind of binge out on these really hard drugs for a weekend or maybe a week, and then like kind of recover and like get my stuff back together and go on. And this cycle of like, man, just like so much pain, and then trying to cope, and then like that making it more painful, and then trying to cope more, and then wanting to quit everything and just like do good and like be right and have like release the shame that I felt about doing these things and try to find passion. And then it was overwhelming, and so like diving right back in, and it was such a cycle. And the whole cycle was set up to keep me distracted from what I really was needing. And what I was really needing was a change, like a really fundamental, serious change. And I was scared to death of that change. I was so scared that I don't know that I ever would have done it myself. But when I was 28, my partner, who became my wife, decided that she wanted to make a change. And that fundamental change for her was something separate from me. And in retrospect, it's so obvious for me to see that this was what I needed. But at the time, man, I just thought I was going to fucking die. I mean, this was literally my worst fear in the world. I was so intertwined with this other human being in so many ways that were, I don't want to use the word unhealthy, because I think it's more than that. Like there's more depth to it than just kind of a simple word of unhealthy. But I was really wrapped up in her and in us, and I didn't really know who I was. And if you've ever experienced that kind of feeling where you're so lost in someone else that you really have disconnected from yourself, and then they want to change spaces, it is kind of like a death, and it's really scary and really intense. Hey, Marissa, how are you? Marissa just joined us. Hi. We're just talking about my life. What have you missed? Yeah, just talking a little bit about my story. And then we're going to open it up for kind of questions in, I don't know, 5 minutes or so. So yeah, just for anyone else who just jumped on. Yeah, Heather knows what I'm talking about. Yeah, for anyone else who just got on, just going through a really long-term relationship that I had from when I was 16 to 28, how I was kind of dependent on this other human. I kind of lost connection with myself. And in order to cope, I started doing a lot of drugs and a lot of drinking like every single day and some other unhealthy habits. And I'm just getting to the point in the story where my wife changes venues. You know, she decided to, what we often call like, she decided to leave me. And I have referred to it as like, my wife left me before, like in videos and other things. But I don't know that that's quite an accurate term. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of like, that's not really what happened. Like she didn't leave, you know? We communicated about changing spaces from one another and changing our dynamic and changing our relationship. Whew. Man, it was intense. It was so intense. Like I really thought I was going to die. Oh my God. So, yeah, like all this crazy stuff happened. Like, you know, she had been connecting with someone else, and like I found out about it, and she had been like not wearing her wedding ring out in public and just like doing like sketchy, shady, weird stuff. And like I knew about all this stuff, but it was like I was so wrapped up in her and I wanted it so bad to work. But there were all these signs, you know, the signs when life is telling you like, hey, it's time to change. It's time to make a change. It's time to make a change. And life keeps telling you, hey, it's time. Hey, I just want to let you know, like, it's time. It's time. And you're just like, no, I'm good. It's fine. Everything's cool. Everything's cool. Everything's cool. It was like that. And it was like that for like years. It was like that for years. And she's not a shitty person. She's awesome. I think this was just like some of her reactions to what was going on for her. Just like I was having my own reactions for what was going on with me. So we separated. And eventually we got a divorce. But initially that separation, it just broke my whole heart, you know, and everything that I thought that I was and everything that I had planned to be in the future was altered forever. And so, you know, what do you do? What do you do when that happens? I think a lot of us turn to what we know best, and what many of us were modeled, and what many of us have learned to turn to are things that are less than ideal for our overall system. It doesn't mean that they're evil or wrong or bad, but they are not necessarily aligned with health and with love. Do you know what I'm saying? And so for me, that meant like, I'm gonna get drunk like a lot. I'm gonna get really drunk and smoke a lot of cigarettes and cope, you know, and like try and sleep and try and like not think about how much pain I'm in. So I did that, and as best as I could, I tried to take care of myself in that way. And at the same time, I knew, like I knew the truth. And the truth was that I really had two options here. And one of them was to just continue to do what I had been doing for the last like 12 years, drinking, working my ass off for like no reason, having kind of crummy relationships with friends and becoming like really dependent on other people, or I could do something completely different, you know? I could just change like everything. And so for a couple of months, I drank a lot of alcohol. I did a lot of artwork. I was trying to figure myself out. And at some point, I just knew like, okay, I got to do something. I was living with this housemate that I just kind of found on Craigslist because I needed to get a housemate. And he was kind of a crazy dude. And we drank together and we did artwork together, and we wanted to change our lives. You know, we talked about pain, the pain of the heart, you know, and we both like, we knew that we drank too much, and we knew that we had this pain inside of us, and we knew about health and we wanted it, and we just didn't really know how to get it. But he, strangely enough, somehow knew about fruitarianism, and he knew about like eating bananas, and he knew about, and so although he was not living a healthy lifestyle, he had information for me that was totally brand new. I had never heard about fruit-based eating before. I wasn't really like, when I thought about change, I wasn't thinking about my diet. I thought about other things, but I wasn't really thinking about, oh, I'll go vegan, or like, oh, I'll eat better, or, you know, whatever. I was just thinking about like, I got to quit drinking. I got to quit smoking, that kind of stuff. But for some reason, he started talking about bananas at the right time. And this idea just kind of stuck. And, you know, after some time of like drinking beer in my bed and watching some YouTube videos on other fruitarians in the world, just like eating fruit and talking about how good life was, I figured, all right, I'll try that out. And one day it was just time. And I went to the store and I bought a box of bananas, and that was it. It was the right time. Everything aligned for me to make some really big fundamental changes in a very short amount of time. And within 7 days, I quit drinking, I quit doing drugs, I quit smoking, I was eating 100% raw fruitarian, and I started exercising every day. And that lasted for like 6 months, pretty much like straight. And then after 6 months, every once in a while, I would like eat some cooked food, or I'd have a beer, you know, or I even smoked some cigarettes like over that first year. I was figuring things out, you know? But I made some really, really big, aggressive initial changes. And that was what I needed at the time. And I actually recommend to most people to go slow, because I think slow is stable and patience is sustainability. And I had to kind of like, although I needed, you know, in my route to aggressively change things for me, because that's just kind of how I am, I also needed to learn patience and to go back. Like I you know, I didn't take 2 steps forward, 1 step back. I jumped 5 miles ahead, and then I had to like go back and like see what the heck that 5 miles was all about. And I've been doing that for the last few years. And I feel like this last year has been, you know, like I went back, I checked out that 5 miles, and I'm ready to keep going now. I'm ready to keep going. And it's been like 25 minutes now of me telling my story. So I'm just thinking like, I don't want to like wrap it up really quick, because like the next segment I feel like is really important, but I do also want to like leave enough time for questions and things like that. So if it's okay, maybe I'll just spend a few more minutes talking about like where I'm at right now and what that actually feels like inside of my body and inside of my heart. Thanks, Guy. Oh, Brittany, hi. Oh, that's exciting, because I was just about to start talking about you. Let's see. So this is the fun part, you know, where you really reflect. You really reflect on who you were, who you've been, who you are now. This is why I feel so blessed to be able to have this venue to share my story, you know, because I've shared this story before, but I haven't shared it today, you know, and it feels really good to kind of check in and feel this again with you all. So thank you so much for your patience and your support. It feels really good. So after I'd say like 2 years, well, actually, no, it was sooner than that. After maybe 1 year, I started hearing, well, initially I was really, really focused on the diet. I was really focused on veganism, and specifically raw food and fruit-based living. And I think in general, I've always had a softer approach to promoting this lifestyle than other people that I've seen. But I did really believe in it as, you know, a fundamental pillar that you couldn't truly be happy, or you couldn't truly like be living an abundant life without it. And I no longer hold that to be the truth. I think that there's so many ways to live life and to feel joy and to have abundance. I think eating a vegan diet, a plant-based diet, and eating a lot of fruit and eating raw foods, I think that's a really good approach. And for me, it works super duper well, but it's not the only way to get there. And for the first year, I really did feel like you gotta have this thing in order to get to the next level. And so my main focus was like, just eat fruit. Like no matter what else is happening, if I'm eating fruit, I'm gonna be okay. I'm gonna be okay. I'm gonna be okay. And that's what I needed initially to make the changes that I did. I really used the diet to propel me into where I am now, which I think is a more like a well-rounded perspective of health, which for me includes the diet, but it's not the end all and be all. Do you know what I mean? And so after a year, I started finding these other components of love, of how to love myself. And like, I was loving myself when I was drinking alcohol. As weird as that sounds, I was doing the best that I could do with the knowledge that I had. And that's how I knew how to take care of myself. And there was a part of me that said, hey, Connor, I know how to take care of you, bro. Let's go drink some alcohol. And there were other parts of me that were like, that's not a good way to take care of you, you know, but I hadn't fostered a relationship with those other parts yet. And so I trusted in that part that wanted to drink. And looking back, I can really understand why that was there for me. That was the best way I knew how to love myself at the time. When I discovered raw food, when I discovered veganism, that was the best way for me to love myself at that time. And after a year, I started finding these other components. And I started hearing about this term like self-love or like loving yourself. And also hearing about something called self-therapy, about how to become your own therapist or how to use certain therapeutic methods to get inside of your heart, to get inside of your mind and literally change the way you think and feel. By healing, by growing, by understanding ourselves and by loving what we understand. And that, like when I found that, like I thought the bananas was cool. When I found that, I was like, okay, now that's what's up. That's what I want to do. And another year went on. So we're like 2 years into this big life change, right? And I went to the Woodstock Fruit Festival for like my second time. And I met this chick, this really beautiful girl with freckles and with dreadlocks. And I was just so smitten, like right away. And I really wanted to get to know this girl. And some funny stuff happened. Like I thought, well, I was going to say I thought she was married, but she was actually married. But she wasn't married in the sense that I thought like it meant at the time. You know, I thought that there was no way I was going to ever be with this girl or have a chance with her. But I met her and I was like, there's something special here. And I want to connect with this person. And it was kind of like a dream for a while. And then we started connecting a little bit, like more and a little bit more and a little bit more. And now we have this channel together where we talk about relationships, and we live in this little RV together, and we run a festival in Thailand together, and we have an acrobatics practice together. And the coolest thing is not that I've found someone else that I want to intertwine my life with. The coolest thing is that I've found someone that I can intertwine my life with and also be an individual. That I can be supported in my growth. And I can support our growth. And I can support her growth all at once. All at once. We can do all of those things for each other. And this is really, really fundamentally different than the relationship I had with this other human being when I was 16. Because of the work that I did on myself, and I think work is an interesting term to use, but nonetheless, because of the time I put into understanding myself and loving myself, I feel like it has given me the ability to connect with Brittany, a person who has also put in time and energy in loving and getting to know herself. And we've been able to come together as these two full individuals and continue to support and love and cherish one another as individuals while creating something together that I think is, to date, the most beautiful creation I've ever invested in. And I'm so, so proud of it. So my heart feels very full now. I feel like I'm allowed to continue to be Conor. And I'm also able to have a partnership that I really desired. And I'm able to have love in my life. And I'm able to choose it. And I'm able to be chosen. So I know that was a lot of different topics. But that's basically the story. That's probably as brief of a synopsis as I could give and still feel like I hit the major points. So thank you so much for listening. I know we're like 33 minutes in, and like I said, I do want to allow some time for us to, connect. Because it's a lot of fun. I think that's why we're here. So I think the last thing I just want to say about that is, yeah, Brittany, I love you so much, and just thank you for being you, and thank you for being in my life. And yeah, I really look forward to continuing to create with you. You are there. That's great. I love you too. So, Marissa, you asked if Britt is my soulmate. And I really love that term. I love that term. It sounds like whenever I hear the term soulmate, it just brings a smile to my face. Brittany is Brittany, and she's perfect for me right this moment. And there's nothing else that I want in the world. There's nothing I want to change. She's amazing. I think the one thing that comes up for me when I hear the word soulmate is that there's maybe a limitation on it of some sort. I guess a soulmate means different things to different people. So how does one, define it? And I think often I've felt like people define soulmate as just one person, and that you only get one kind of chance with this one person. And if you don't kind of get them, then you miss out. Then you don't have that soulmate connection. So, and I'm not saying that that's how you view it. I'm just saying that that's how I've heard it be viewed before. And so if I kind of open up the definition a little bit and say that, maybe a soulmate is like someone we deeply, deeply connect with on like what we feel like is a soul to soul level, a heart to heart level, that it's very, very, very special, that it's very, 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 very unique, that there's nothing else like it in the world, then absolutely Brittany is my soulmate. And I think there's an abundance of soulmates out there for us. I think there's tons of them. I think it's limitless. I really think abundance is everywhere. And so when I approach these kind of concepts, I really, it feels good for me to view it as kind of an abundant kind of feeling. Yeah, Marissa, yeah, you think we have many too. That's cool. That's cool. Yeah. Yeah. So here we are. Okay. Yeah. Any other questions, you guys? I would love to answer anything. Like I said, I know that I just talked a lot about a lot of different things, and I don't know how many of y'all like already knew some of that stuff or didn't, but I'm so down with any questions that you have. And again, I just want to reiterate, if you are interested in delving a little deeper into self-love specifically, I did talk a little bit about it this time, but specifically we will talk really specifically about self-love next week. So any questions you have to that effect, you can totally post them now. I will answer them a little bit here, and then we'll give them bigger answers next week. It's really fun to be hanging out with you guys. Really fun to share my story, and I super appreciate you all listening. Everyone is a little quiet in the chat, so that's totally cool. And I can absolutely talk about any element more specifically. And I'm thinking, let's see, if it sounds good, I can talk more about the food element specifically. Like how I changed my diet what that really looked like, maybe what I was eating before and what I was eating after versus, what I'm eating now, and kind of talk about the elements that have felt good or not so good, or things that I've learned through that process. So if anyone wants to talk about anything else, just post in the sidebar and I would love to talk about it. That seems like a pretty decent topic, especially given that we are talking at the Vegan World Summit. So we're talking about plant-based options, plant-based food, plant-based living. So as I said, I changed everything really quickly. And what I had been eating, well, interestingly enough, I actually went vegan in high school as a freshman and a part of my sophomore year. And that was 100% out of ethical reasons. It was like really into hardcore punk rock music, and a lot of the punk rock scene has vegan roots and ethical vegan roots. So they're really into equality for living creatures, all living creatures, and that was cool. I learned a lot about ethical veganism at a very young age, and that was cool. And so I started eating a vegan diet. The only thing that I would say that maybe the punk rock ethical veganism scene is missing is information on health. And so, I was eating like peanut butter and jelly sandwiches and drinking espresso as my primary sustenance as a freshman in high school. And that's not really sustainable. So it was good. I did it for great reasons and everything, but I didn't really take care of my health. And I think that really, in order to change the world and to bring like joy and love and just goodness into the world, we need to take care of ourselves. We need to take care of our heart and our mind and our body. And so to understand what that means physiologically, I think is really important. And most of that is done by experimentation, but also a lot of that is done by informing ourselves. And so hopefully that is part of what this Vegan World Summit is for you, is getting that information so that you can learn how to better take care of your body and then experiment with it and see what works for you. So after kind of falling off of eating vegan because I didn't know how to do it kind of properly at that age, I started eating meat and cheese and all that kind of stuff. Pretty much ate, what one might call like a healthy standard American diet. So definitely a lot of cheese, a lot of meat, a lot of yogurt, but not a lot of super processed foods. And I didn't eat fast food, and I didn't really drink soda. On the other hand, I did smoke cigarettes, and I did drink a lot of alcohol. So, I don't know. I felt like I was being kind of pretty healthy. I felt like the food that I was eating was pretty healthy because I would eat vegetables. I would eat like kale, and I would make like smoothies with kefir, which is like a yogurt drink. And I thought those things were like healthy. And sometimes, I would make like whole chicken and like make a chicken salad. And I felt like that was healthy, and like Pizza Hut and fish fillets from McDonald's and stuff, and Twinkies, that stuff was unhealthy. And I don't know, like chemically, like I don't know in the body which is healthier than which. But I can say that over time, I think that style of eating, particularly the alcohol, really affected my intestines, my stomach, and my mood big time. Really affected my emotional body as much as, if not more, than my physical body. The day before I switched to 100% raw vegan, I had a roast beef sandwich. No, it wasn't roast beef. It was, what was it? Pastrami? Yeah, it was pastrami. I still remember the cafe that I had it in. It's like pastrami with like the coleslaw and some rye bread, the whole bit. It had like a bag of chips. And then the next day I just had like 30 bananas. And I can say that a lot of people have asked me, like, did I have detox symptoms from switching my diet, from quitting drinking, from quitting drugs. The weird thing was that I really didn't have many. I had a mild headache for a couple of days, and I was sleeping a lot, probably 12 hours a day. And I also was drinking about 2 gallons of water every day. And that went on for a solid 30 days for sure. For the most part, sleeping like 10, 12 hours a night, mild headache in the first 3 days, drinking 2 gallons of water every single day, beginning to exercise every single day, high rigorous types of exercise, and eating a lot of bananas and a lot of other fruit. And the main thing that I noticed in terms of changes in my body or like physiological detox symptoms type of stuff was just pooping a lot. And I've talked about this in videos before. So it's not like a vulnerable subject for me. I think it's a really natural thing that we do. Obviously we poop, and it's a good thing to talk about and to share because everybody's poop is different. And we can gain a lot of knowledge from this topic. So I will say that, you know, eating a fruit-based diet, you will absolutely poop more. And if you change your diet from, you know, eating a more standard American diet to fruit, you will initially go to the bathroom a lot. And I was pooping probably like 15 times a day. No joke. Now, if you were pooping 15 times a day for, say, several months, that could be a real problem. It's really not healthy to poop that many times a day. But initially, it makes sense that we have all this backed up stuff that's really not able to be processed in our intestines, just stuck in there. And that when we eat fruit, really high fiber and water-rich food, it starts flushing that stuff out. And depending on your system, it's going to do it pretty quickly. And it could do it an awful lot all at once. And for me, in the first 30 days, I lost like 15 pounds. And I guarantee you, most of that was compacted feces. So whether that topic freaks you out or not, is, you know, that's just what it is. But this is like truth, you know, it's like a fact, and it's a good thing to get that stuff out of your body. So don't be afraid of it. You know, I think that's a really healthy process. That was my biggest initial kind of change with the diet physiologically. Now, emotionally, whole different thing. I have always kind of struggled with insomnia, anxiety, depression, you know, and everything that kind of goes along with that. And what I noticed, man, like 3 days into the diet, was a relief. So it almost felt like I was really high, honestly, but like high on life in a way that I had very rarely felt. Like maybe going for a really hardcore run at track practice would leave you feeling, or doing I don't know, some kind of activity where you're really mindful and you're really in it and you're just like elated. It kind of felt like that for me, but it was like 24/7. And I remember one day going for a run, maybe a week in, and I felt like my head was attached to a string, and it was like a helium balloon just like floating around in the cosmos. I mean, it was really different than how I was normally feeling. I felt very awake, very present, very real, very raw, and I was really happy. And I think that part of that was a feeling like I was loving myself. I was doing good for me. I was taking care of myself in a way that I had never taken care of myself before. And so it just felt so good. Oh, you know what? Let me just scroll down here because I didn't realize that you all had I'm so sorry. You guys posted comments that I didn't scroll down far enough. That's awesome. Okay. I can absolutely answer these comments. I'm so sorry. Let's see. Maybe I'll start with this last one on the Vegan World Summit, since it's related to what I'm talking about, and then we can kind of sum up that topic and then go back to some of this other stuff that's on here. So how do you make sure you eat enough to gain muscle weight on a raw vegan diet? Well, man, initially it was really important for me to be eating a lot of calories. What I've noticed is that over time, it's been like 4.5 years now, I've been eating a really clean diet, not always raw, but always very, very clean and always plant-based. And what I've noticed that over time, I believe that I have done a lot of healing in my digestive tract and in my stomach so that I'm able to absorb a lot more nutrients than I used to be able to absorb. At one time, I was really needing to eat like 4,000 to 4,500 calories a day. That's a lot of calories. And at this time, I would say I probably eat more like 2,500. And if I want to, I could eat 3,000, and that's great, but I don't always hit that mark. And one easy way to do that is banana smoothies. You get really nice, ripe bananas. You cut them all up. You put them in a bag, throw them in the freezer. And, you know, it's so easy to consume bananas like that. And it's just such an awesome source of nutrients. And they are about 100 calories per banana. So it's very easy to get in a lot of calories if you're needing to do that for your body. But I would just really pay attention to what your body is telling you. Everybody's body is different. Everybody's body is super duper different. And no one can tell you how many calories you need. Only you know that. And it does take time to connect with our body and learn what our body is telling us. So it's okay if you don't feel like you have that answer right this second. That's why we're sharing our information. But experiment with it, you know, and see. And I would say for me, it took about, I mean, it's changing, but it took about 30 days initially to really get a sense of, okay, I really need to eat a lot of calories to feel good on this diet. And over time, that has changed, and I've been able to relax that a bit. So thanks, guys. Thanks for, I'm so sorry again, I didn't scroll down and see these other questions and stuff, but this is cool. Let's see, zodiac signs. Brittany is January 5, 88, and I am January 22nd, 84. Okay. Talk about minimalism. Brianna is wondering if I can talk about minimalism and how you decide what to keep or let go of. Yeah, for sure. Minimalism is a funny thing that just kind of accidentally I started doing. It really wasn't on purpose. Like I had never heard about minimalism before. I just have always kind of been relatively non-attached to things and stuff. And after Nicole, my previous partner, and I separated, I had an opportunity to just kind of like say like, I don't want that thing. I don't want it. I don't want it. And for me, that was really freeing to just kind of like bequeath all of my belongings to her. And I mean, not everything, obviously, you know, I didn't like give her my shorts and like my truck or anything, but like just a lot of things that we shared that honestly, probably neither of us really wanted. We definitely didn't need them, but it was nice to be able to just let it go, just let it go. And she let stuff go, I let stuff go. And that was probably the beginning of that process. And then I lived in my garage for a time and rented out my house. And it was easy to live really, really simply. And so, and then I found out that like minimalism was an actual thing, you know, and I guess I found that out after I'd moved back to California. I was living in a really simple studio apartment, sleeping on the floor. And then I started chatting with Brittany, and Brittany was really into this minimalism thing. She was making videos about minimalism. And I was like, oh, that's cool. That's cool. Yeah, okay, that's what I'm doing. I'm going to make some videos about that too. That's neat. So that's kind of how it's been. And now like my philosophy on minimalism is really just using it as a tool, like anything else in my life. My main focus is not minimalism. My main focus is just joy and happiness and love. And if I can use minimalism to that effect, I'm going to do it. And I found that minimalism is a really helpful thing to just, yeah, pull out and use as a tool to kind of sort out what's really serving me and maybe what isn't, and what I can kind of let go of. All right, let's see. Still going back, for those of you who just jumped on, I didn't realize we had some questions piling up. I didn't scroll down far enough, so my bad. Let's see. What is your favorite affirmation and how does it make you feel? By Ted. Oh, dude, that's awesome. I love affirmations. I've played around with affirmations a little bit in the past, but only recently, I'd say the last few months, have I really felt like I've like harnessed it and I really enjoy doing it. So Affirmations can be different things for different people. Some might like think of affirmations as mantras or something like that, but essentially we use these things to say to ourselves to help us get into another state of being, or to instill a belief system, or to change our perspective, or to help bring more X into our lives: joy, love, freedom, passion, whatever it is. For me, one of the most awesome things was, like, I was working. I was also playing, but I will say I was working at the Woodstock Fruit Festival. Brittany and I managed the produce team this year, and we were rocking it out. Like, we were doing a lot of work and sleeping very few hours. And I really like sleep, and I kind of need like a lot of it to feel good. And so we were only getting like 3-4 hours of sleep at night. And it wasn't just because we were working. You know, we were working, we were also playing and having a lot of fun. But I needed recovery, man. I needed recovery. So whenever I would lay down, even if it wasn't at nighttime, sometimes I'd just take a little break and I would lay down and I would close my eyes and I would just say to myself over and over and over again, I am healing and recovering. I am healing and recovering. And I swear to God, it felt like I slept 10 hours when I only slept 3 or 4. And I really believe that we have the power. Like, if we harness this thing and we harness this thing, we can do anything we want. And play around with mantras and affirmations, because it's pretty amazing. It's pretty powerful stuff. So that's one of my favorite ones. Also, just holding my hand on my heart, one hand on my heart, one hand on my belly, and saying, I love you. I love you. I love you. I really like doing that. All right. Let's see. Let me just scroll down, make sure I didn't get anything. Hi, Lori B. Thanks for jumping in. Thanks for jumping in. That's awesome. Matt asking me, do I drink at all anymore? Well, right now I'm drinking this really fancy soda water, which I super enjoy. And I want to say that I have no, what's the right word? Like, I feel so open to actions that support us, that feel good, that lift us up, that we feel good about doing. And I've had times recently where drinking a beer has felt like totally cool with me, and I've done it. And for the most part, that is not something I'm interested in doing, especially not on a regular basis. But this is a really important question, I think, Matt, because the training that I had, what was modeled to me around what we commonly call addiction, is that if you are maybe doing a certain action, you have to 100%, if you're doing a certain action that is unhealthy, you have to 100% renounce that action, renounce the person that you were when you were doing that action, and ascribe a label to yourself that really, in my opinion, doesn't serve you. And you have to hold on to those things forever and ever and ever and ever and ever. And that is, that's really not the place that I live from. And I don't know who I'm going to be tomorrow. I don't know what I'm going to want to be doing tomorrow. I know that today I really want health. I really want to love myself. I really want to let go of shame, let go of guilt, anything that's in there that doesn't feel good or right or isn't coming from a place of love and compassion. And if I drink a beer, if I choose to drink a beer, I want to love myself in that place just as much as if I chose to have a banana smoothie. Full well knowing with all the experience and knowledge that I have about the difference between a beer and a banana smoothie. No action is like, just because you do this one or you do this one, it doesn't mean you're bad. It doesn't mean you're good. It's all an opportunity to observe where we are at right then in that moment, how to understand ourselves better. And in my opinion, being open to our desires doesn't mean we have to always do them, but being open to our desires, not shutting anything out, listening to ourselves, listening to those wants, those needs, and those cravings, listening to them, trying to understand them, and then bringing love to that space. I think that's the way to truly, truly heal our mind, body, and spirit, rather than saying, I'm done, I quit, that's it, I'm never doing this thing again, ever, ever, ever. Because what I've seen in my life is that shuts out the possibility of understanding who we are when we crave the action, or we do the action, or we regret the action. Who are we in those moments? Why do those things exist? So for me, you know, those questions are really, really important. And I just, yeah, I feel really passionate about that kind of understanding. And I know that that's a little more information than I think you were asking for, but in any case, thanks for letting me share that. Okay, let's see. I think we had one more in here that I may have missed. When did you start practicing as a therapist? Oh man, I don't know. I think it was 2.5 years ago. I actually got trained as an internal family systems therapist. So I've been practicing as a therapist since then, but I've also, you know, I've practiced as a therapist before I got training. So, you know, I was like doing kind of life coaching stuff. I ran like a donation-based service for a while when I first started, and I used IFS protocols that I had developed, or rather had educated myself on with other people. So I'd been kind of utilizing that therapeutic approach before I got training. So yeah, you guys, thank you so much. We're at 6:59 my time here in Austin, Texas. Matt, yeah, you're so welcome. Thank you for asking that question. Sky, thank you so much. Yeah, Diane, I really love being open. I just, I really want to keep sharing more of myself, more truth with the world. And this is an awesome place to be held accountable in the best way possible, because I really feel like, I mean, I don't know how you're feeling, but I feel love from you, you know, and that's like, we're creating this together. And so like, I feel held, and I feel grateful. So thank you all. Marissa, thank you so much. Thanks everyone for jumping on here, for commenting, for saying hi. Lori, you're so welcome. It was my pleasure. Kelly, absolutely. Thank you for being here. And next week we will definitely be hitting that awesome topic, self-love, all over the place. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about IFS, which is the type of therapy that I recommend and use with others and with myself. And we'll be talking about other self-love practices that you can get into. So yeah, if Wayne Poo wants to jump on and close me out, he is here.
Hey, thank you. What an awesome talk. Really enjoyed it.
Cool.
Loved hearing about it. Just sitting in the background.
Eddie. Awesome. Yeah. Love you guys. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Connor. We'll see you next week.
Okay, we'll see you next week, y'all. Bye-bye. Have a great night.